Love the product and love the podcast. I have two family members with compromised immune systems in my household. So I decided that I would forego all riding with friends, teammates, and racing until they and I were fully vaccinated. They have now been fully vaccinated, and I am a month away from having my second dose of the vaccine take full effect. So after this, I'm hoping to get back into gravel, road, and crit racing when races start this summer. Unfortunately, because I won't have ridden with anyone for over a year, I'm concerned about my bike handling capabilities in upcoming races. Jay, you and everybody else listening to this podcast as well. We all feel that way. So he says, do you have any advice on easing back into group rides and workouts without causing Cat 5 like catastrophes? I really don't want to be that guy. Thanks for all the help you can provide on this one. So yeah, happy to, Jay. Pete, do you want to kick us off on this one?
Yeah,
we had a long discussion about it.
Yeah, actually, this is pretty poignant, Jay, because I just raced on Saturday and I was super rusty. All things felt really bad. I turned my bicycle and I was like, this is wrong. And there's people around me and it was scary. And so even though I think I'm a pretty good bike handler most of the time, if you don't do it, it goes away. It's just like anything else. So it was definitely very uncomfortable. I was bad at the beginning of the race and I got better over the course of the race, but it wasn't familiar and I felt bad. So everybody else is going to be in that same boat. We were talking about it kind of around during the race and everybody felt that like the cobwebs were really hard on there. Some people hadn't raced in 18 months or, almost 2 years. A couple of us raced like 14 months ago. So it's a long time to not be in a situation that you used to be familiar with. And it's already something that really pushes you mentally and physically. It's way beyond the limit for most people. So remind yourself that you're doing something very crazy when you're riding around at 25 or 30 miles an hour, 6 inches away from someone else's handlebars, because that's scary. And there's a reason your brain doesn't like for you to do it. And so it shuts back down. But I would say as soon as you got back into it, as soon as the first 5 minutes go away, your body starts remembering. And it starts coming back pretty quickly. One of the things that I noticed is some of the things that while I was racing came back more quickly than others. So like the actual like lines through the corner came back pretty quickly, because that's something kind of less about other people. I guess more for me. People sort of stay out of my way a little more. I'm not really sure why. But I can take
strongest dude
your
there.
massive flowing blonde hair, your reputation, the Cliff kit. There's a lot of reasons, Pete.
Well, so I would say one of the things that came back pretty quickly. But I had a really hard time staying on wheels from putting a lot of extra effort. I hadn't dug very deep in a long time, apparently, because it felt very hard. And like dropping wheels was way more difficult, and I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I never got it over the course of the day. So that's a good example where the cornering came back, but while I was racing, I was trying to recognize what wasn't coming back and remove myself out of those situations, because things are going to come back at a different rate. And so there's stuff that you can check off and say, all right, I'm okay with touching elbows with someone again. That feels fine. But I really don't want someone to take the inside line. Like I'll give up places rather than get the inside line and get spooked and give up, 10 wheels.
Can you explain what you mean by dropping wheels, Pete?
So one of the things in a crit race, you kind of have this freedom of movement for the surrounding racers around you. And so what you can do is you can give up space in a straightaway or through a corner or something like that. And what you do is you guess how much space you can give up over the course of the next 5 seconds or something. And the more accurate you predict how hard people are going to pedal, the closer you'll be to their wheel with slightly less work. So what you really want to do is predict how long they're going to pedal hard for and how soon they're going to slow down, and you can kind of meet them in the middle and pedal not quite so hard and slow down a little less and run into the back of them. And so my finger in the wind for dropping wheels was way off. I was just I was like 10 or 15 feet off the back of every corner. And I was like, man, this is still not working. And then try to pedal harder next time. And I think it was mostly fitness, honestly. I just didn't want to make the effort because I could tell I was going to blow up. So I had to dial it back and then hope that they slowed down more than they did. And it didn't work.
The opposite of what Pete just said is where there's a gap and you think, oh, it's going to surge even more, and you really accelerate, and then everyone slows down and you have to break into them. That's the worst. And if you can time it, like Pete said it, you can just kind of like, you probably save like 20%. That's what it feels like, where you just kind of float back and forth a little bit because you're never hitting the brakes into them. But you're also not experiencing the huge spikes, because a lot of times in crits, they accelerate and then slow down immediately, right? Mm-hmm. And Pete's talking about smoothing it out. And if there's a little bit of a gap, that little smooth can gives you a buffer. It's just like in traffic, right? Yeah. When if there's a little, like if you leave like 7 car lengths, that's too much for cycling, but obviously, then you don't have to have the brakes and stuff. But if you're right on somebody, you have to stop right away, and you then have to accelerate when they accelerate and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's an assumption that you always need to stay within X distance of a person's wheel. Yep. And that will make you a very tired cyclist if you do that. And also it makes for a lot of dangerous scenarios. That
is so true, especially when I started racing like a lot 2 years ago. I guess it was 2 years ago now. Yeah, because last year I didn't race. Mm-hmm. Everyone would be like, you can't drop the wheel. You got to be up front the whole time. Those are two conventional wisdom things about you have to be at the front and you can't drop the wheel, which I think just lead to a tired rider. And I would do the opposite. I'd let the people flow through. I didn't stay at the front. I had gaps, and like I let it accordion and just kind of try to float. And then when it slowed down, this is what people would always say, when it would bunch, I would just coast to the front. Hey, I'm at the front now with zero effort. Mm-hmm. Right. And then at the end of the race, when it really mattered, that's when I used all my effort, because I didn't have any, I wasn't tired. So I could really use the power at the last 4 or 5 laps, get to the front, or even sometimes less than that, because as you see in those race videos, Pete saw it with analyzing like 2 laps to go, and everyone would be like, whoop, slow down. It's like, okay, you're automatically at the front now. There's the whole time you could have battled. And people say that because of safety, but it's also, you can be safe tail gunning. I think that's the safest, actually, because you can really see crashes and you can see what's going on. And as the field slows down, you can really see it ahead of time, and it's easier to save energy. It's only hard to tail gun, like Pete said, if you drop it on the corner and then they kill it, then you're like by yourself, and that's no good.
Man, you got to be in the right mindset to race like that, though. Like, it's so hard to go into like a high intensity, like high stress race and be like, it's okay, man. I'll close that gap in the corner, man. Like, it's really hard to go. It is, especially like if you're trying to tail gun and like stay near the back or like in the middle to conserve energy, and people around you in that setting can sometimes be frantic and like get mad at you and be like, well, why can't you hold the wheel? Like, it's hard to, which is, something that I've experienced. Like, it's hard to like be rest assured that what you're doing is right, and might not be what the riders around you are doing, but know that like it's gonna work out in the end.
Can we talk about that person really quick? Because all of us have been that person at some point, or we have seen that person in a race and like interacted with that person.
So those people say that to me. Yeah.
Yes.
All the time.
The person that's like, don't drop, you're letting gaps open up. Don't drop that wheel. Why are you doing that? The reason, like, if we take a step back and think about it, like, actually, go ahead, Ivy. Like, why are they even saying that? What's your read on the situation?
Yeah, so that's an experience that I've most commonly dealt with when racing with men. And the reason that I race that way when I race with men is because I'm not, like, when I jump into a Pro 1-2 men's crit, like, I'm not on the same level as those guys. And so I have to race that way. Otherwise I won't make it till the end, you know? And that's my goal ultimately, is just to stick around. And so by racing that way, the men and people that I race with in that stage of the race that are like kind of in that like lower middle to like back, they're not racing the same way. They're not like staying back there to conserve. Like, there may be a few like really smart guys that are back there that are racing that way, but most of the people that are back there racing that way are frantic and anxious and don't want to be at the back and can't figure out how to move up. And they get really frustrated that I'm opening gaps and then like closing them through the corner. They see me making space and they can't compute that space is okay and that it's going to be closed. And they get mad and lash out and yell and like, can you just hold the wheel? And like, it's really hard to like see that anxious, nervous energy and even like see some physical aggression from it and like see them dive in and like they, it's hard to like see that and experience it and be like, it's okay. Like, this is the way I'm racing. Like, I know how to do this. Like, and usually they end up getting dropped a couple laps later anyways.
Yes. It's that they're worried. That's why they're saying it. Right. And winners don't look for people to blame for excuses. However, that is absolutely looking for, you're going to make me and everybody else lose if you do this. And it's like, actually, you could solve your own problem with this. Like you can fill in the gaps. You can position yourself better. You can read the race better, or, do any of the many things that a racer could do to be able to be more efficient in the group. If you look at the front of the group is not the one. They are not saying, why are you letting that gap open up? They are not doing that. The ones that are strategically managing the race and doing their job, they know that, hey, if this person's opening up gaps, that's fine. We adjust for that and we can change that around. It's always the guy in the breakaway that's terrified that he's going to get dropped out of the breakaway. He's going to be the one yelling at you about closing or about letting wheels go. He's going to be the one yelling you about all those things. The squeaky wheel makes the most grease, or sorry, totally backwards.
Let's butcher all of them today.
Squeaky mouse
Cutting
needs something.
hairs.
I don't know. Yeah. The squeaky wheel is the one that usually needs the most grease, right? And in this case, if a person's making a ton of noise and being angry and being mean, especially about letting things open up, then that's because they're worried they're going to get dropped. So remember that.
In the breakaway, you have to know, is that person doing this strategically or are they going to die? Because in a breakaway, it's good. And when it's on the back, and if they're going to die, you yelling at them will not fix anything. Right? Like, you can't just be like, oh, try harder. And they're going to be like, oh, you're right. I could have stayed this whole time. But Pete, like for you, how often do you open up gaps going into corners on purpose?
Every single corner.
Every single corner.
Every single corner of every single race. Unless something bad is happening. Like, unless I'm in trouble and I'm not in control of the situation anymore, which does happen. But if I can choose, because I feel more confident in my ability to extract slightly more speed out of every corner, which the gap actually gives me the freedom to do. I can't extract more speed if I'm following the same line as everybody else and following the same speed as everybody else. But if I can give up, even if it's like 18 inches, 18 inches is enough to get you, I'm making up numbers, but half a mile an hour or something. And that half a mile an hour for me is probably 50 watts less out of the next corner, which changes that makes me finish races. I'm good at the on-off stuff. And so more micro rests I can cram into a race, the better I'm going to be. And a lot of that is actually waiting to pedal later into the corner. So I'll start coasting 5 seconds to go into the corner. And then you actually take 1 or 2 pedal strokes to get your trajectory right and your speed up so that you run into the back of them. And hopefully you're actually gaining on them as they're coming out of the corner. So while they're doing the bigger effort, you're like slingshotting, shake and bake style around them and coming back in and slotting back in. And so if everything works perfectly, you pedaled probably 5 pedal strokes less. You pedaled 1 pedal stroke while they weren't pedaling. You maximized your 18 inches of gap and probably took the corner slightly wider and maybe slightly tighter. So you straightened out the corner more. And then as they're accelerating, you're probably going to come around them just slightly. And as they get back up to speed, you slot back in while you're actually slowing down while their acceleration is happening. So that's a perfect scenario where you just saved, I don't know, it's a very small amount, but if you do that hundreds of times over the course of the race, that's huge. It's huge. It changes. That's the only way I can finish races, honestly. If I'm, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, when a race is totally strung out single file and I don't have choices to make like that, that's when I get into trouble. If the race is strung out single file and it's wheel after wheel after wheel, and even with my 6 inches or 18 inches to play with, it's not enough to like keep me in the group. I always need it to slow down. Hopefully it slows down eventually, but some races never do. And then you get 75th or something, and you tried as hard as you could for the whole race, and it doesn't matter. So it only works if there's variance in the field and in the pace. But every time there's more variance, there's more opportunity to do this better and move up correctly and pass, get back into the right position to do it over again. So yeah.
The worst is if Pete was right on that wheel or with like 6 inches, took it faster, and then had to brake right before everyone accelerates. Like, has anyone ever done that before?
Oh yeah.
And then you're like actually slower, and you're like, oh, now the momentum, and Pete not heavy, and like then you have to really accelerate. So that's an example. If someone's like, don't open gaps in the corner, so like they might not understand unless if you have Pete in front of you or John. Ivy, I've never ridden with you. I'm assuming you're a good corner too with all your cross skills and stuff. Amber, get right on that wheel. With other people though, you have a gap, and Pete, you probably. I'll ask both you, Pete and Ivy. Based on the rider in front of you, like if it's one of the Cliff people, Pete, you're probably right on their wheel versus like a person that you know on another team. Do you guys have different gaps based on who it is in front of you?
For sure.
Ivy, look at Ivy's face. Ivy, you say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. And I wonder like if how much of what Jay is describing and worried about is caused by that misconception that you need to be like on the wheel. Like you need to be like on it in the corner. Like how much of that is like creating that like anxious, like reactive, like grab, brake, accelerate, like catastrophe type stuff that he's worried about, that he might feel that first race back, by being so close and like, not, we're assuming that everyone around you is like rusty too. And everyone else is going to like grab, brake when they shouldn't, and like make weird movements when they shouldn't, and like take weird lines. And so, yeah, how much of that would be resolved by just like giving a little room? But yeah, there are definitely people that like, and can ride super close to in a corner, and man, is it chef's kiss. I love it.
And the opposite is there's people that you're around and there should be alarm bells going off, like big old red, like get away from here. This is the worst place to be. And like, I'll give up 10 or 15 wheels to get as far away from them as I possibly can. And because it's like their wave is the opposite of yours, and you're like breaking into their acceleration, and it's just this tug of war that blows you up. So get away from people that aren't agreeing with it the way you're racing.
Along those lines, this is a great opportunity for all of us to make cycling better. Is instead of yelling at that person where they're throwing the alarm bells that we shouldn't be by them, just don't ride behind them or ride around them. Like don't yell at somebody in the middle of a race if because that's really common. Like you see that. And like Nate said, it's not going to change anything in the moment. Everyone's like in this crazy fight or flight like state, and they're like literally fighting for their lives, at least in terms of the mindset in the moment, right? You're perceiving all this danger, you're on the limit, doing all of that. So yelling at somebody is not productive.
At Land Park, so we record our stuff with GoPros, and going into, I was a P12, and I think John and Pete were next to each other back in the field. I was the first one into the little tricky chicane corner, and they go, on the recording, you can hear they're like, "Oh no, Nate's in front." Have you let you know that I put like a 15-foot gap on the field when I went through that little corner, and then in San Rafael the same thing that would happen. My cornering is better, but I bring this up because I have a reputation as a like bad backhandler just because of the stuff I say on this podcast. In the back, the best, someone will yell at me, "Oh, you're dropping wheels, blah blah blah," and I let that space open. But then I let them fill it in. They get behind me thinking that I'm going to like not be able to, do something, or I just keep going back, and they're so frustrated or frantic that they get ahead of me and they pull me up. And that is a great strategy. If you're racing with me, just stop listening for a second. That's a great strategy to like skip ahead. You don't want to hear this part. To save energy the whole time, to have that happen. And if you can let other people fill the gaps for you, it's like this mutual assured destruction I've talked about before. You just keep kind of backing off, and I'm good at the hard 30-second efforts. Hopefully too, where they can't even get on my wheel, right? An acceleration. I can do a few of those in a race. Just make them fill those gaps. Another one, I want everyone's opinion on this because I don't know if I did the wrong thing here. I was in a Masters race. I was in second wheel going into a corner, and the first guy took this really weird line into the corner, and I took a better line, and I actually ended up ahead of him. But someone behind me goes, "You can't do that, blah, blah, blah. You got to follow the wheel in front. You got to follow the line." But I thought it was a bad line. So, there wasn't people next to me on the side. So that like I deviated the whole peloton, you know what I mean? It was strung out. And he yelled at me in the middle of the race, and he was it was like the third lap, but he was much older, which that happens sometimes, right? I don't know. He was a sage person in the peloton who was trying to help. What do you think, everyone?
I think if you
You
deviate
go.
and it's yeah. I think if you deviate and it's a bad line, like you truly took a bad line that endangered people, yes. But otherwise, there's absolutely nothing saying that you have to follow the line that anybody else is taking. As long as it's safe, everything is fair game, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one more thing is if you are on the front and you don't want to be on the front, you can purposely take a bad line to get out of the trajectory and slow yourself down. So I'm not saying that's what the guy in first wheel was doing, but it is something else to think about. If you find yourself too far up and you don't want to be as far up as you are, you can take a worse line and slow yourself down without doing any work to slow yourself down. Like every time you brake, you're just wasting watts. So if you can coast through a corner, go super wide, or go really wide into a corner, and then kind of come back in and let the peloton fill in front of you. But it's your race. You can take whatever line you want, and however you get there, as long as it's not dangerous for anybody else, you can do anything you want. It's like the race is there. There's curbs on the side, right?
Ivy, what do you think? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I would say exactly that. Like, there are no rules, man. Like, I hate the like hold your line thing. Like, what does that mean? Do we never move in a bike race? Like, do we all just like stay? Do we die here? Like,
Yeah.
I can see how like changing a line in a corner can be dangerous, specifically like when someone like comes straight into the apex. Like, but like, I know that you didn't do that, especially if you like came out of the corner faster than the person in the first wheel. Like, there's no chance that happened. So like, therefore, like, how could this have been dangerous, especially if like the rest of the peloton is still behind you? Like, kind of speaks to homeboy was just mad. I don't know.
I think what happened is he was expecting to follow the first person's wheel, and then he did not follow mine, and he got kind of like, I think the first person took too tight. I went a little bit wider, but he was on the outside of my wheel, and he was expecting to cross into me, and he messed himself up. You know what I mean? He was almost turning into my wheel as it happened, and then he yelled at me for doing that. But it wasn't a tight. It was like it wasn't even a 90-degree turn. It was kind of a wide turn. You know how into an parking lot or you on the little streets, and a 90-degree turn does not have to be a 90-degree turn. The road is so big and you have the whole thing. It's almost like a straight line. It's a very gradual glide. But if you're following like the yellow line in the middle, you're like, oh, I got to take an absolute 90-degree turn right here, when you can really just use more of the road and make it a lot straighter and keep your speed up. You can pedal too.
Yeah, for sure. On an upcoming episode that I've recorded, which y'all get to hear likely at the end of this month, with 2017 pro crit champ Erica Carney. She's awesome. Erica Alar, other name that you may know her by her maiden name. But I recorded an episode with her, and I'm going to tease this question more than anything, because Nate, I think this is the other reason that happens. There was somebody that wrote in that asked basically like, hey, like, TrainerRoad's made me fast, so suddenly I'm at the front of group rides, and I found out that I can't ride when I'm at the front of a group. Like, I don't know how to like pick a turn or pick a line through a turn, because instead of following people, I'm the one deciding the line. And I think that a lot of people have difficulty understanding what the right line is. And I'm not saying that they might even not consciously recognize this. So then when somebody takes a different line, it's like you're breaking from the obvious choice here, the obvious decision. This is the norm. This is what's safe. That's what they're classifying in their mind, because they may not be able to see it differently. So a lot of it is just like the psychology of the space that person's head is in at that moment. And a lot of the times, since that's a deviation from the norm, it will upset them because it introduces choice and confusion instead of just simple, this is where you go on the course. So by the way, Erica does a fantastic job of answering that question, and plenty of other ones. It's going to be a great episode. Look forward for that one. Getting back to the core of Jay's question here about getting better at this. So really, Pete, you mentioned something that's really important, and we all know this. It's really hard to learn skills. Like, imagine if you were trying to learn to play the piano and you had a person, like, first of all, you had to learn to play it in a public space, like in a mall where people are like walking by. or you had like instructors yelling at you every time you made a mistake, or like really harsh consequences, like that would be a bad learning environment. And that's what we kind of do. That's what Pete did this weekend, of getting back used to it. Like his skill didn't go away, but his familiarity did. And he's like, hey, familiarity, come back in the most high pressure situation possible, please. Like
with
if
GoPros on, so everybody can see it.
Yeah, even more, right? So if you have the luxury of being able to just ride with somebody first, like ride with friends, 1 or 2 people, a little more, kind of work your way into that. And at first, just start out riding within what you feel comfortable, where your comfort zone is. And then that comfort zone will expand over time, or shrink, I guess, in this case, and you'll get closer to the person and you'll be able to ride more comfortably. So if you can do that, that's great, because there's another aspect to this, that even though you may know what to do and have a track record of doing the right thing, once you go cross-eyed, because the efforts are so hard, we don't perform as well. It's a lot tougher. It's actually one of the reasons tomorrow Pete's going to go on the e-bike, on the mountain bike, and we're going to ride an XCO course here in Reno, and Pete's going to hammer me basically. And I have to try to not drop Pete's wheel is the goal. So, which we're going to put GoPros on, by the way. So this will be some good race analysis stuff.
Cool.
But the reason that I want to do that is because I know that I'm fine making choices on which line to take and how to ride when I'm in a normal, clear-headed state. But when I'm completely exhausted and I'm boxed and I'm not thinking straight, that's when I make bad decisions. And I don't want to just show up at races and basically say, okay, body and mind, get reconditioned to this environment right now. I'd rather get used to it beforehand. So you can get creative with it. If it's just one person, or if it's not one person, then, you can jump into group rides, but definitely just try to ride where you're comfortable. I think all of us are probably going to have to go through a reconditioning phase right now. I heard that at that race that you were at, Pete, which is the first one in NorCal for a long time, for over a year, I heard that one had quite a lot of crashes compared to normal, and that makes sense. So we have to be as safe as possible with these ones for sure.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.
If you think I have better hair than Jonathan, give it a thumbs up. If not, leave a comment.
My hair is better than his.